So let's have a look at this. Yeah, Francesca's drawings, I just looked at them just now. I'm like, wow. So what I love about this is the contrast. I mean, I always love contrast in every aspect of life. But the leaves are really like thick and velvety. It's like Valerie has drawn similar contrast to this. And I love the use of eraser here. So, and the delicate texture of the vases is just beautiful. Maybe there's a little bit of scope to work on the overall perfect shape, but there's no such thing as perfect. So I'm really, really, really impressed with this one. Greg, I've just seen yours as well, and wow, yeah, your style of illustration is totally different to these artworks, and it's amazing to see the variety of your skill, the delicate glass of the vase, and also again the contrast of the thickness of the leaves. And that's nice and refreshing to see something else as well. Beautiful little bottle. And is that a lavender? So that's that. Ali's not here with us right now, but she's probably watching tomorrow. That's really interesting as well. I love the different application on the background. Yeah, so we can see how different we can treat the drawing, how differently we can use the pencil. I think she was probably using the side of the pencil to make this interesting texture. And look at the how different it is in comparison to the glass. So you can feel it's glass. Valerie, yeah, that's I've already commented on that, and I don't know, guys, you probably are looking at the group. I think that's why I've set it up for that reason. Look at the delicate texture of the glass in comparison to the leaves. I think this was such a graceful subject as well. Oh yeah, that's the one. Really cool. I think the only comment I had is to diversify the leaves a little bit, to make them slightly more pronounced somewhere and slightly less pronounced somewhere. But I really also loved the glass texture. I think glass is very challenging to draw, and I think it explores all kinds of challenges that drawing might show. And I think we're definitely ready to progress. I think that was mine, not Sarah's. Yeah, really lovely, beautiful. I'm sure you guys all agree that the drawings here are just so impressive. And bearing in mind this is a beginner's course, I don't know what advanced course would look like. I love the you can see how the delicate work of the eraser what's going on here with the leaves. It's really like matte in comparison to the shiny glass. And same is going on here. Who's done this one? I don't remember. Chris, yeah. This is interesting because this has been drawn during the class, and this has been drawn on your own, Chris, and I am so impressed with the variety of pencil application you've got in your hand, and it shows really a great potential for future. And even though this is not how I teach, I really enjoy and admire having your own stamp added into your portfolio. I really encourage people to do whatever feels right for them. There is one girl in the Solitaire Art School, and she draws like tattoos, and consistently she draws it like that, and it's amazing. And that's beautiful as well. Maybe the shape of the vase could benefit from a bit straightening down at the bottom, but otherwise I think the balance of light and shadow is just beautiful. and sits beautifully on the surface. I'll always encourage adding something at the bottom of each of objects, because this grounds it and it doesn't make it float, which is very important in composition. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love, I think maybe it could be benefit with a little bit of finishing touches, but I love the contrast of the contour. It's all different around the edges. Maybe it could be a bit straightened up. But I think there is beautiful potential to make it a finished piece whenever you've got time, Rachel. Ali, yes. Yeah, again, I am so amazed by everyone's work on the glass vase. I found it challenging to draw myself, and I am stunned by the examples. So well done. And Mandy, yeah, your drawings are always so soft and delicate, and this is again the case here. I love the contrast here between the vase, the right-hand side of the vase, and the surface. Beautiful, the floral stands out. I can imagine it framed. Really great work, well done. And that's homework from last week, so we're going to move on from that. I'll do stop sharing and let's go back to today's beautiful subject. So I didn't send objectives because I'd like to talk about them right now. And the objective of this exercise is to get the proportions right. We're going to learn how to measure so that the human proportions are correct. And it's not just regarding human proportions, it's about everything, how we measure using pencils to make sure that we get everything correct. And it is easier to measure with pencil from a real object as opposed to a printout, but I guess it is also quite similar, just maybe not so straight, not so, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, so we're going to learn about the negative space, and the negative space is the space, for example, I don't know if my mouse is visible. Nod your heads if you can see the mouse. Can you see the mouse? Yeah, good. So the negative space is here in between the arm and the thighs, and here, and also like the triangular shape between his legs. And this is how we're going to define whether what we're drawing is correct. So we're not only looking at the body itself, the measurements like between the waist or the thickness of his arms or the angles of his arms here, but also in between the shapes, because these will definitely determine whether we're going right or wrong. And then, so I'm gonna spend a long time, and I'm gonna do it slowly, because I think this is the most important exercise here in this piece. It's not the value, the tonal value of his body, but that's also important. But here, I'd like to focus on getting the proportions right. So I'm gonna focus on that, and then as a last part, I'm just gonna add a little bit of value as much as I can. I wanted to show another drawing which actually shows something important in terms of how we use the knowledge that we've already gained in the human anatomy drawing. Is when we were drawing our objects or vases or florals. I hope you can see here the quality is not so great, but the drawing, which is created by Albrecht Durer, who was a Dutch great master, not an Italian Renaissance. But he did it also, it's not with a pencil, it's with, I think, ink and a pen. And you can see how the strokes follow the curve of the body. I think I'll write a song about this so that we can all remember when we draw it. And it's clearly defined how the lines follow the curves on every. So this is a miniature drawing. It's I'll try to bring it closer. And this is what we're going to try to achieve when we come to applying a value to our Renaissance man. But yes, so the pencil strokes, they have to be as tight and as fast, but also round, that they reflect each of the bones or muscles. If we don't see it, then we probably have to just figure it out to make sure that it's correct. There's many correct ways, but as long as it follows the line of the curve, whichever way you guys see it, then it's right. And then look at the beautiful contrast as well. But we're gonna get there in time. So I'm going to go ahead and start my drawing. I've already started earlier on, and actually I think mine was a bit wrong because my arms are very wide, and I think they're not as wide over here. So I'm going to pay extra attention to make sure that the one that we're going to do right now is correct. So how to measure the body? There is logic to the madness, although it's only a theory and nothing else works as good as observation. Observation is the best skill of an artist, unless if you're a Picasso, and then you can do whatever you want. So because I have already been drawing it earlier, so I have measured it earlier, and the way I've measured it is I use this pencil because it's got actually the head finishes on the line of this black bit of the pencil. Maybe they did it on purpose for me. So the head, I would say it finishes somewhere here, which is his chin, or maybe slightly below his ear. So if we count 1 to another line here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So head is equivalent in the body 8 times. So we count 8 times, and that's our proportions. And so it's easy in the drawing because we can do what I just did and do these marks on our paper. If it was a real man standing, we would still have to measure it, but we couldn't really draw on him, so we'd have to just measure it more times and draw on our page, on our actual page. So what I'm going to do is use the same scale as my printout. My printout is quite big, so feel free to do however you want. So I'm going to do 8 marks, equal value. Mine almost takes up the entire turn the light on. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, a little bit too high. So maybe here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably, yeah. That's going to be. So today I'm going to use my favorite 6H just to establish his shape, and then I'm going to use a cup B pencil to add a bit of, and then I probably might add something much bolder, like, let's see, here, a 4B. So maybe 2B will be equally fine. So just as a spectrum of pencils, just to give me enough choice to add the contrast that I want, without enough different shades of gray. So we've got 8 segments, head, and then 1, 2, So I'm gonna just, I know that this is the head. This is quite intimidating. This is the most intimidating part of the drawing because we're gonna have to start with something, but if we draw light enough, it's gonna be easy to rub off. So I know that in my second, if I help myself and draw lines on my printout, I'm gonna be able to see a bit easier. It's gonna be easier for me to establish where things are in relation. And also we can measure it this way as well. So I would say that the measure of his head, if we stretch it to the side, it goes around here. It goes around here. So now we know a little bit how this is supposed to reveal. So if we were looking at a real person, we would be establishing the angles of his arms, of his just with using a pencil, and then transferring it onto our pen or onto our page. This is a bit more tricky without the model because I can't. It's the page is on the desk. It's not up in front of me, but we will manage. So if that's the head, let's say that's probably to the side. So we can see where these two lines meet, and that's where they should meet on our drawings. So this is a stage where we can draw as many lines as we need. And it doesn't matter because we're going to choose the lines, the correct ones at a later stage when we are pleased with the composition, with the progress. Then that bit goes around his waist. So if I was to drag this line further down and then have it meet with the horizontal lines, this is our touching points, and they should meet on our drawings. These lines, the straight lines that I'm drawing, are only supposed to be as an aid to help us to get there where we want to be. So they don't need to be, they should be really very faint and very delicate. So now I'm looking at the negative space here. So this is a drawing of a perfect man according to Leonardo. So people don't really look like this. That's why I'm saying that the measurements, the proportions are not relevant to everyone, because otherwise we would all look the same. That's why. But if we kind of think that there is 8 heads in the body, then we're roughly about right. We can establish the general direction of his arm like that, and then transfer it here, and it is like that. But then where it meets with the elbow, the direction goes slightly different, goes maybe more out. The next part is where his the crease of his bottom. Then all this line here goes quite even until his thigh. So you make a straight line and then add the folds and the muscles into them. Just looking at the negative space between his hand and what is it, thigh, hip. And how far does it reach? So that, which is what, first, second, third, fourth, fifth goes, meets the palm, his tips of the fingers here. So that's, we know that it's not going to go any further down than here. If it goes further down, it's wrong. Have a look at the space between his armpit and his arm, and the edge of the arm. This man is really symmetrical. And if we move this line down further, you see it meets him in, well, actually it's not symmetrical. Here in the, and then we can also, so we're measuring all distances across between each other to make sure that it's all correct. And this is so important to get it established before we apply any value, because a lot of the times what happens, people start drawing like a life model. I know life models, they move, but if we establish the relationship between each object at the beginning, before we start applying any sort of value to it, any darkness, dark shading, then we can still remedy any errors. While if we start indulging in color and then notice that there is mistakes, then it's going to be visible. So got that line here, and then the next line, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line, is in his knees. So the knees are here. And then have a look at the this line and this line of his calves. They are almost vertical if we compare them to this line of the edge of the paper. I'm sure it's almost like we could put a ruler next to it. That's important. And then the 7th line goes under his calf, so he's a perfect man. But it's actually a great way to learn on that kind of figure how we're supposed to measure. It makes it easier, because if the calves were all over the place, it would be a bit more tricky. So if you notice any mistakes, even in a composition, it's best to start again if it's not possible to remedy it, because the mistakes will always be seen. We're not striving for perfection, but near enough. And I had a student, she's really talented in the class, in one of her classes in Salta, and her drawing skills are really lovely and soft, and she was drawing Victoria Hall, the building, and the value of the pencil, the softness and the quality of the strokes were just stunning, but the perspective was wrong. And she asked me, what should she do? And I said, there is nothing you can do. Say goodbye to the drawing, because it will always be visible. It's a nice memory, it's a nice exercise, but if it's wrong, it's wrong. So let's see if that in the drawing is the same as here. I think in my case it is. See the angle between the thighs, the triangle. So if even those lines help us establish shapes of these negative spaces, it's supposed to be like a long shape, not very wide. And then my last line goes, I think, slightly above his heel. So the heel is going to go slightly below the line. And we always measure. So how, if we were to move this line from the heel up, where would it meet? It would meet here in the crease above his knee. So that's what it has to do here. So that's how we're establishing. We could have easily gone to the left in my case. to drawing the other arm. So that bit here, also vertical, not worth noticing. The line of his arm goes this way. That is very helpful when drawing a life model, because the details of his muscles and bones come later, while the angle of his arm is very important at this stage. And look at that negative space here. Where does it meet with that 1, 2, 3, 4 line? Let's show his elbow. And then it veers off from his hip in the angle. Like that. And then where does it end? It's just his end of his palm on this side, on the right hand side, is different than from here. It's actually in between. That line, something else. So according to Leonardo, the pubic area is in the middle of a body. So that's also worth noticing, but only if you're dealing with a perfect man or woman. It's probably those kind of curious facts that are worth knowing, but then measure anyway. So the wrist, my 1, 2, 3, 4th line goes on the fold of the wrist. This is where I got it wrong here. So it should be here. It makes sense a bit more. You can see that also vertical to that. So we're measuring at every length. We're measuring all angles, all lengths, all folds, finding the points that we find, like feature points, so that the creases, the folds, we can refer to them later. So now that I've got established that angle of that, I can add some more detail. How thick is the palm of his hand on this level? It kind of goes like belongs from the fold. So I'm really kind of done with the basic shape. It's not so intimidating anymore. There's a page filled with some lines, but I'm not sure whether they're all correct. So my next step would be to change my pencil to something softer, but not too soft. Because I want to go over the body again, make sure that I got it all correct. And as you can see, I mean, his contour is very prominent, very bold throughout the entire body. Maybe it has been done for the sake of this exercise. Although still, you can see this, it's thicker on this side and thinner. It's got really soft hand, and then it's a bit more delicate. So we are aiming to even exaggerate what he's done and add the strokes, organic strokes that don't repeat anywhere. And this will make it stand out and make it real, make it look real. So again, back to this fold on my case, need to make sure that my muscle and angles and lines are correct. That bit here is also parallel, vertical, almost straight. I'm really looking forward to the school opening in 5 weeks, I think. And I've announced some events. If you guys local, have a look what we've got planned. Got a mindfulness painting session planned, which is supposed to do what this does for participants, which is, I had the feedback from somebody said it's quite relaxing, which is great for you. I find it quite intimidating. But mindfulness will be just applying color on canvas with no stress, just kind of escaping from today's stress the whole lockdown brought upon us, just escaping into another creative world. It's a 4-hour session. I've extended it since last time. We had it 3 hours and nobody finished their painting, so this time it's 4 hours. No stress, no pressure, just color and music. And we've got an artist's retreat here on the deck of my garden, overlooking the river. That's 6 hours of painting, landscape with lunch. And we also have a live drawing class coming. I'm not sure, but sometime in between those two sessions, if any one of you is interested. Got some nice models lined up. Yeah, so my drawing, my composition here, my proportions are going well so far. I hope your drawings are too. If you have any questions, you can also send it on chat if you don't want to speak. Or if you want me to slow down, or if you have any comments. How many things does he have on this side? Have a look at whether your width above his elbow is okay, because it kind of widens really dramatically further up, and that will determine where his elbow is. Do the legs look proportionately to the body and to the drawing? I think it's important always to measure and cross-reference between all features. So I like what's interesting is that when you want to learn to draw, drawing from like copying the great masters is the best way, because you can see the strokes that they were adding, and this is how you learn, so you by imitation, and that's invaluable. While if you were to draw just by yourself, drawing somebody or whatever without an indication of the strokes or the application of the pencil, it would be a little bit of a guessing game. So if you are interested to expand your knowledge and going into it a bit more, then I would recommend buying yourself an album by one of the great masters and trying to copy all of their drawings. And then when it comes to drawing the real life model, it'll come natural how to apply the strokes, which direction. I think people get confused sometimes which direction they're supposed to apply the hatching. So I don't know if you have seen the homework for this week. This week is a female figure, and there is no indication of strokes. So, but yeah, that's why we're going to start with this first. We've done a similar exercise a few weeks ago. I think Valerie has been participating in that one. You've done an amazing job, Valerie. We were drawing a sculpture of a man. This one is a female. So I'm quite happy with the proportions of this man in my drawing. I'm not gonna I'm gonna keep on cross-referencing and making sure I'm doing it right, but I'm going to try to apply the value into it. So again, these lines that I've drawn at the beginning are very helpful with establishing the way where his muscles are. So I'm just gonna delicate lines try to establish roughly where they go, and then I'll know how to apply the pencil to make sure that they show correctly. It's like drawing a He-Man. Was that a cartoon like this? I'm not going to focus on the hair today or the head altogether because this is not the point. There is an exercise further. Is it next week or maybe the week after? Where we're exploring the hair. Hair is a different beast altogether. That's why we can just indicate today where it is. So this is again like with the glass vase. I'm just gonna do it really delicate strokes and then focus on it a bit more when I've established the structure first. His spine is so straight. So we might be possibly, I've inquired with Salter Arts Trail because they asked me to be part of that event. And I've inquired whether a big live drawing class would be suitable and possible in the times of Corona or post-Corona, fingers crossed, I don't know. So the Salter Arts Festival is on the 29th of May until the 6th of June. And I am thinking to organize a big live drawing class, as in a big room, because our Salter Art School room is quite small, and I think it'd be easier, better, and safer to do it in a bigger room, if it's possible. So keep your eyes out if you're interested in live drawing. There will be one live drawing class before, maybe on the 1st of May, or sometime around that date. That would be actually quite nice. What day do we finish our course? 29th of March. So yeah, that'll be a month, and then there'll be live drawing class. It'd be a nice opportunity to test your skills. So right now I'm not exactly following the curve of the body because I'm trying to establish where these muscles go first. So Leonardo is showing exactly how where the muscles go, because normally if you're looking at a real life model, presumably he won't be so muscly, so his muscles won't be so pronounced and easy to see for us. We have to just know the anatomy much better and see better, observe better. Well, right now he's making it a little bit easier for us. A lot of the times when it comes to mistakes in drawings, I think probably 99% of the time, unless you love your mistakes, then I would try to start from scratch, because you'll always see them and you will either you love them or not. And I think that if they are mistakes and you're aware of them, you probably won't like them. So it's worth spending more time to get it right. Start from scratch. Treat the first attempt as a great exercise, and start again. And it's probably going to be even better than the first ones. It's always worth starting again. See that light here is the same proportions. I'm going to apply some. So yeah, my drawing is at the stage where I'm ready, where I've established the proportion, the composition, I've established where his muscles are. So I'm going to try to follow the curve of the body, and I'm going to bring this print by Albrecht Durer again, because this is what I'm going to do. And so the strokes, they go round this shoulder blade, around the arms. So when we were drawing our geometrical figures, this is all they are. It's just made organic and blend into it together. But otherwise, this is the same technique. And Albrecht Durer shows us exactly how to do this. And this is how I'm going to try to apply for this drawing. awkward because I don't want to twist my drawing because I want you to see what I'm doing, but it's awkward angles. So if you're finding it awkward, you go ahead and twist your drawings in front of you so you can get your strokes in a natural position. And if you were thinking of signing up to one of these events, then you know that you have 10% discount as a student of this. And as from September, fingers crossed, we're allowed more students in the class. So I know some people were inquiring about spaces. So you're on the priority list. It's going to be the same time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from 6 to 8. My stroke don't exactly follow the curve of the body because I don't really want to twist this page, but if you can do that. Still important also in this exercise here to add the contrast. I think it's portrait next week, as far as I remember. Oh, mine looks like Incredible Hulk. So we always talk about the lives of the great masters as well in the class, and one thing that we were saying is that sometimes disadvantages work to your advantage. Sometimes things that seem to be perceived as negatives can turn out as blessings, most of the times, really, if you look at it like that. And Leonardo advantage, well, he was from a prestigious Florentine family, but he was born out of wedlock. And if he was the righteous son, then he would have gone to become a notary, just like the father and the grandfather and the whole family. But because he was not allowed to become that, because he wasn't the righteous son, or is that the word? And so he was left to his own devices. His father was actually encouraging him in his drawing, in his art adventure, because there was nothing else that he could be doing. But this is why we have Leonardo, because he wasn't sent to the notary school. So look how straight his spine is. That line here is almost a ruler. I'll make sure that it's also reflected in my drawing. Since the beginning. So every muscle is treated in a round way and defined. Therefore, this is how we build the body. So it's not flat with light shining in random places. It's actually round. The body is round. And if we squint the eyes, it will also easy to notice where there is light, where there is shadow. We're now in the middle, just turning the middle of the course. So how many sessions do we have? We have 3 sessions. I'm going to use my rubber to show off some of the more delicate stroke lines here. We don't really need, once we have established our proportions, we don't really need those straight lines. So we've got 20 minutes. At this stage, we'll probably know. I mean, you have more time, but for this session, we have to and maybe it's a good idea to plan in that way for when it comes to drawing from a live model. Then let's say we've got 20 minutes. We've got to make a decision how to make sure this drawing will look finished without actually finishing it. So when it comes to my drawing, I'm going to decide I'm going to try to do as much of this left leg and leave this one quite blank. Squinting eyes is very helpful skill. Almost seconds to observation. It helps us establish the contrast. Sometimes when we see with clear eyes, we don't really see what's going on. maybe it would be a good idea to get all your drawings at the end of the course and display them somewhere. If it's possible, Chris and Valerie could send them over to America. So drawing body is one thing, but then drawing hands and face, like the detail of the bodies, is something totally different. That's why we're gonna, and it's quite tricky, especially I think drawing a hand is equal to drawing the entire body. People sometimes avoid drawing hands because it's tricky. That's why we're gonna focus on portrait and hands separately. And people use brush for smudging as well, deliberately. This, I guess that's probably a tool to do that instead of a finger. And again, if there is any light, like a line of light, like we've got a light here, on the inner thigh. So I think we're going to achieve that with the eraser. This is a great model to learn all the muscles and human anatomy on him. I prefer to draw women. I think women, there's something beautiful about human body, but if we want to learn anatomy, I guess a muscular man is probably ideal. It's been an interesting year. I think we've all grown as society, as people. I mean, I have definitely. I wonder whether we're going to miss the lockdown life. I'm sure that we're going to miss some aspects of it. I've been on a walk recently, and me and my friend, we were talking about how art benefits and creativity benefits mental health. Actually, one student, she said she wanted to, it was in November, she said, oh, I haven't got the time. I thought I was going to quit. But then after the Monday session, she said she felt so relaxed and at peace and almost, you know, like when you exercise. And I find even these sessions, I know that I'm supposed to perform here, but I find this really relaxing. It's like transforming to a different world. And we were walking with this friend, and I've overheard somebody else saying, somebody was, I think, yeah, they were like, oh, somebody else was struggling with mental health. And I'm thinking this has been such a common issue. And I think there is no better way to spend the Monday night or help ourselves, but with creativity. Engage our brain in a creative way. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to finish with the leg. I'm going to try. So I want to see on your drawings, I want to see a full spectrum of all the 50 shades of grey and all the full spectrum of the contrast from very, very light to very, very, very dark. In my case here, my darkest are the strokes. The outline. So we've got 5 minutes. I'm just wondering what would be the best way to make sure this looks finished. So speaking of Leonardo being born out of wedlock, and this is defining influence on the direction of his life. I think we should all look into life like this. This school wouldn't have happened. This course wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. So there's something positive in my life, that's for sure. Thanks to that. So I'm just going to use the last 3 minutes to maybe define the strokes, because I'm not going to be able to add value as a hatching. Let's clean it up. When I was applying for the Academy of Arts in Poland, the part of the examination was to draw still life model in 4 hours, and there was no extension. It was 4 hours was up, that was it. You had to present what you had, and you had to make sure it did look finished. It was, I think it was large scale, so it was about A1 size. Mine does look like He-Man, or was that Flash? I don't know. Either one of those 80s hero. Maybe Ken. Kendall. Fine eraser, you need it. So I've got 1 minute. I hope you enjoyed tonight's session. I did. Hope I'm not boring you with my jokes. Making myself laugh. I look forward to seeing everyone's work on Facebook. And Sally, please send it, because I don't think we've seen it. We've seen your work from this week. Guys, you carry on. Don't finish. Don't make me stop you. Don't let me stop you. If I were you, I'd grab a glass of wine and finish it and go for it for another hour or so. And my child is coming back, so I'll leave you to it. Hope you enjoyed tonight. Look forward to seeing everyone's work. I'm really pleased with my Hulk. And good night to everyone.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Nina.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.